All right, I'm on the third day. We're going to move ahead and go to what question is this? I think it's number 8 or 9 or something like that. It talks about even and odd functions. Which is it? In just a second, when I go to the next one, you'll see what it is. But anyway, this is Wednesdays and Thursdays review. The first thing I need to make sure you understand is you get what it is that we're looking for here. Okay? If the question that I'm about to ask you was asked with numbers, we wouldn't have a problem with it. If it was a number and I asked you was the number even or odd, you could tell me what they were real quickly. At some point in your mathematical career, you might not have been able to tell me that so quickly. For example, if I said the number 8, would that number 8 be even or odd? Okay. The number 10, is it even or odd? The number 5,296. Okay. Because of what it ends in. That's what you know now. The idea of a number, listen to me now, you're going to mix this up, and it's easy to mix up if you don't know what it is that we're looking for. If I were talking about numbers, the idea of a number being even is based on whether or not it's divisible by, okay, if it's divisible by 2 evenly, it's an even number. For example, what's 0 divided by 2? 0. There's no remainder. There's no remainder when you say 0 divided by 2. What do you get when you do 2 divided by 2? 4 divided by 2. 8 divided by 2. 4. See, all of those go in there evenly. Now, for a number to be odd, it's not divisible by 2. Now, I said all of that to show you, guys, that's not what we're doing here. Some of you only pay attention to about half of what I'm saying, Mark. Leave him alone. And you don't get all of the concept. Guys, I am not saying that's how you check to see if an equation is even or odd. It's much different to see if an equation is even or odd. If you want to find out whether an equation is even or odd, you have to see what happens to f of x when you plug a negative into it. Also, you can tell if an equation is even or odd based on what the picture looks like. If the picture is symmetric about the origin, it's the same thing on one side of the origin as on the other. When you rotate it 180 degrees, nothing changes. That thing is said to be odd. If it's symmetric about the y-axis, if you would imagine a parabola, it's the symmetric about the y-axis is the vertical axis. It's the same on one side as it is on that one's. That one would be even. Okay, it has nothing, NOT, it has nothing to do with whether the equation is divisible by 2. You don't need to be sitting there watching, guys. You need to be taking notes. It doesn't matter whether you find f of x equal to x squared or f of negative x equals x squared. You say it's the same thing. You get the same answer. So that equation is called an even equation. Now, this time when you put negative x in, you don't get the same answer. Negative times a negative times a negative. So f of negative x is equal to negative x cubed. Not the same thing as the original problem. Opposite. That function is odd. That's how I keep up with it, guys. Odd is opposite. Odd is opposite. What's it make graphic? So the y-axis is the vertical axis. Symmetric about the y-axis. When I flip that thing, I rotate it 180 degrees. I change. Watch. This is the board that's moving. So that means that that's called an even function. Notice she said neither. That doesn't happen with numbers. A number is either even or odd. But equations, it's much different. So negative times negative, positive. O is opposite. O and opposite. Opposite means odd. Oh no, come on. Look, it's not the same all the way through. In the first term, it's the opposite of the first term. But notice it's not the opposite of the second term, and it's the same as the third term. So in my choices of whether this equation is even or odd or neither, this is an example. All right. So what we have here is a question that gives us and tells us the function's odd. So it says a function g is an odd function. Okay, and g of -3 so when I plug in -3, I get a 4. Which of the points lie on the graph of G? So does 3 -4? When I plug in a +3, I get a -4? -3, -3? No, it's not going to be -3, -4. It's not going to be B because this thing tells us what you get when you plug in -3. When you get -3 plugged in, it tells you get 4. So it's not going to be this one. Okay, when I plug in 4, I get -3. Or when I plug in -4, I get... Now, what did it say? What did it say should happen when I plug in something to an odd function? I should get exactly the opposite. So if I plug in a +3, I should get -4. And what is that in that also? Is that, didn't we just say? Boy, that's one that I just realized that we need to look at is our translations. Remember we did those translations, rotations, and all that other stuff. We need to take a look and make sure over the next few days, in the next couple of days, we study translations, because I remember we had to translate something means a slide, but there were some rules for rotating things. There were some rules for mapping that we had to do. There was a rule for mapping 180 degrees, a rule for mapping 90 degrees. Was there a rule for mapping 270?
I don't think so.
May I remember the rule for rotating 270 degrees? First of all, which way do we rotate? Left. Counterclockwise. I'll go over it. We didn't have to have a rule for rotating 270 degrees because all we said it was 90 degrees the other way. So we just did the opposite of 90 degrees. All right. Which is true about the function f of x equals 7. So if this says f of x equals 7, the function is odd because if I plugged in a negative in front of here, if I put a negative in front of it, would that give me -7? But odd doesn't mean it comes up the same thing, does it? Well, that's not it, because odd means it comes up opposite. Look, a function is odd if the thing was opposite. A function is even when it comes up to be the same thing. So the function is even because negative f of x is equal to f of x, f of negative x. Well, that's opposite of each other, guys. That's what it says. That's what it is that makes something odd. Not correct? Correct. The function is even because f of x is the same thing as f of negative x. That's the only one right there. That's the same thing. All right. A lot of these questions shut up.